On this episode of the Career Musician Podcast, straight out of New Orleans with music flowing through her veins, Melanie Taylor's rich and eclectic musical heritage has helped guide and define her music career. Best known as one of Bette Midler's infamous harlots, Melanie has shared the stage with the biggest names in the biz, like David Foster, John Mayer, Stevie Wonder, Donna Summer, Barry Manilow, Chaka Khan, Barbra Streisand, Elton John, Billy Joel, Sheryl Crow, Jackson Browne. Oh my gosh, the list keeps going. Tears for Fears, Patti LaBelle, Brian Wilson, Dionne Warwick, Dave Koz, Willie Nelson, Joe Walsh, Steven Tyler, and she was the first female vocalist to sing with the legendary rock band Aerosmith on their Music from Another Dimension album and tour in 2017. And we have a special surprise in this episode. Stay tuned to find out right here on The Career Musician with none other than the multi-talented Melanie Taylor. Here we are at the Career Musician Podcast. So glad to have a dear, dear friend of mine, Melanie Taylor, singer to the stars and beyond.
Thank you, Ned.
Absolutely. And not only that, her wonderful mother, Althea Waits, is joining us. And she is an incredible musician and educator. So, wow, this is a treat to have both of you ladies on the Career Musician.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm so happy to be here, and such a nice surprise that Mom tuned into.
Yes. Now, it looks like I have Terry Woolman, who just popped up. Is that
cool? Somebody
from your team?
That's my hubby. Yeah.
All right. Well, he's jumping in. I love it. There he is, Terry.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the Career Musician Podcast.
Thank you, Nomad.
Absolutely. Man, we have the whole family. This is great. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi,
This
Althea.
is so fun.
Hi, Terry.
Yeah, Terry and I got married August of 2019, pre-pandemic, thank goodness. I'm so glad we didn't wait.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, that is awesome. So, Okay, so much to talk about.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to dive right in. So Melanie and I go way back to the Kirk Whalum days.
That's right.
Right. And I really appreciate that. It was so kind of you, Melanie. You're like, I know you by another name. Is it okay if I say that? Or
You got a whole new world.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you are Nomad, so it only makes sense.
Right. And that's the whole point, I think. Yeah. As musicians, we're all modern day nomads, right?
That's perfectly said. Yeah.
I mean, home is where our head is at that moment. Literally.
Right.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Gig to gig.
I've been so restless lately. I can't wait to get back out on the road, and I would be happy just to go to, Palm Springs for a getaway. And we may do that soon. But yeah, the road has a different energy. The road keeps you kind of, keeps you honing your chops, and it keeps you, there's an energy there that is missing. I told my friend the other day, I really miss adrenaline. Don't you? I mean, I miss that punch of like getting out of bed and going to the venue and, and tearing it all apart. So that is what's missing from me is adrenaline. It's kind of been a little bit hard to get the motor running, but we're getting closer every day. So that feels good.
Man, I couldn't agree more. Okay. So Melanie, you and I met working with Kirk Whalum, and I don't even remember. Maybe it was the early 2000s.
I was about to say, I want to say it was like 2002 or 3. And then we did that for a minute. And then I went out with Jeffrey Osborne right after. And we kind of, would just see each other in passing.
Right. So, okay. Before that, though, you had been a singer. Let's talk about how you got started. And we're going to kind of go around the room here. I'd love to hear a little bit from each of you how you got started in the business. I'll just start out by saying this. The whole mission of the Career Musician is to empower up-and-coming musicians with strategies for a sustainable career. And I think all four of us can agree that perhaps that is one of the biggest challenges of our industry is sustaining our career ourselves, right? And maybe, we have to think of ways to reinvent and stuff. So keeping that in mind, I can't wait to hear each of your stories.
Oh, thank you, Nomad. Well, you mentioned how I started. And for me, it started with education, really. I've been performing since I was 6 years old. My first gig was dancing in the Arabian Nights. I was born and raised in New Orleans, and it was a little production right near our house. It might have been an elementary school thing. But anyway, I started out life as a dancer. I never intended to sing as a career. I kind of think it chose me later in life. So I came up in a really creative household. As you know, my mom is a musician. My grandmother sang. Everyone was really creative, and I played viola and danced and did all kinds of crazy things. I was in theater, chamber singer. So it's kind of always been a through line that I sang, but it was never just this one thing. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton with a degree in theater with an emphasis in dance. So I had my degree in theater. And that's mostly what I did. After I graduated, I started working for Disney. And again, it was kind of a triple threat thing, sing, dance, and act. So we were just on stage doing lots of live shows. And that was kind of my boot camp, I guess you could say. After that, there was a turning point when a friend of mine asked if I would sing a demo for a song that he had written. And I had never been in a studio. I'd never sung with a band, like garage bands, like people do in high school and stuff. And I didn't even know what a demo was. And he goes, "Oh, we'll just come sing this song that I wrote." Because obviously, I don't sing and it's a female song. So I went in the studio and I just started belting and, aiming for the back row because that was my training, the theater training. He was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hang on a second. Let me help you." And he taught me how to.
Thanks to Miss Althea. That was your training, right?
That's right. Yeah. Just get out there and, leave it all on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he taught me how to sing on a microphone. And I kind of never looked back after that because he paid me. And I was like, "You're going to pay me to do that? Man, I'm not crazy." My first real gig was a little mini tour with Connie Stevens. I don't know. She's an old school movie star and variety star singer. And that was my first real celebrity tour. And after that, it just kind of snowballed, I guess you could say. I just kept showing up and lots of referrals, lots of networking, and just using my training though. There's no substitute for education.
I love that. So a solid foundation in education, but then you just said something that I want to talk about a little bit later, referrals, and quote unquote hustling, getting out there and just meeting people and word of mouth. Okay. So, but I want to come back to that. Althea, how did you start? And it sounds like you gave Melanie the right tools from early on.
Well, I just have to say that Melanie is the great joy of my life. I am so proud of her. She has an amazing career. And, the other thing that's so important too is that she has continued to, like all the rest of, try to keep the music alive in spite of the pandemic and all of the stuff that we're going through now. I mean, the musical community has been hit hard. But I started out doing lessons when I was 6 years old. I was born and raised in New Orleans as well. And my mom sang in the church choir. And I had a great aunt who played the piano and all of that. And the teacher used to come to our house on Saturday morning and do lessons. And of course, that was my early start. And then went through high school, playing marches, Sousa marches of all things for the kids to come in after recess. So I was kind of, because I was able to read, and the band director said, "I want you to do this." I said, "Oh, I don't know if I can." So it all turned out okay. She put a little music in front of me and I learned how to do all of those marches by ear, stars, stripes, and all of that. And it was a lot of fun. But I mean, all through high school, I played and accompanied choirs and things like that. And won a competition to play a concerto with the New Orleans Philharmonic when I was 17. Wow. And traveled around, went to a music camp right after that and continued to teach because that was my primary survival. I didn't do a whole lot of touring as Melanie has done, over the years, but I started out just teaching in schools and colleges on the East Coast. And then I moved out to California in 1975 so I could reunite with my daughter and family, and then continued to perform and teach. Wow. And it's been quite an eye-opening experience. I think, now that I'm sort of well past the age when anybody should have retired or would have retired, I'm still working and, getting some really good things to happen, and I'm very grateful for that. So.
Well, I think that's the beauty of what we do, right? Technically, we don't retire, right?
That's right.
Keep going as long as you can.
Yeah. How can we retire from music? It's innately built inside of us, right?
That's right. Sure. What my mom won't tell you was that she got a full ride scholarship to Yale University School of Music when she was 19. And she was the first African-American female graduate of the music program. I'm just saying, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, there were other women of color in the school, but the only other woman in the class was a musicology candidate. You know, she was going for a PhD, and we never really met. I mean, we used to talk past each other in the halls, but there were very few. I think now the community is much more diverse. I mean, they really are trying to reach out, you know, because they have to. I mean, look, you know, being in a lily white environment like that is, and many schools are still like that, but at the same time, you know they got to do something to change the landscape, the culture.
Well, you were a big part of that.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, Melanie. Thank you. First of all, like Terry was clapping. Yes, that's an insane accomplishment.
Right.
Let's park there for a minute, Terry. Before we get to your beginning story, we have to park here for a second and talk about that, because look, obviously, it's something that we're still dealing with today. Okay, equality for any person of the non-Caucasian appearance, so to speak, right? But especially Black Americans, we're still having that issue. And then on top of it, women, you know, women's rights. And so it's almost baffling that how many decades later, as Americans, we're still dealing with this same issue. You know, Althea, can you shed some perspective on that from your own experiences?
Well, I went through a lot of that too. I mean, I think Yale did open a lot of doors, but at the same time, you know, depending on where you are, you know, you walk into a school, everybody's surprised to know that you can speak the English language and that you know exactly what you're doing. I mean, I've been to some places where my credentials were questioned. You know, oh, we knew you were good, but we didn't know you were that good. Well, okay, come to the lecture site, you can find out, you know.
Right.
But and that happens. I don't think it's how shall I say? Maybe it's not as blatant in some places. I think because people really have to acknowledge that we're all out here together, and it's not about certain people being in one place, me being in another. We really are in the same boat, as Jesse Jackson put it. You know, we may have come over on different ships, but we're here now. Yeah. And we're not going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, we really are not. I mean, we're all here trying to work and create better lives for ourselves and for the people that we care about. And that's how I see it. You know, that diversity is part of the issue now. There's income inequality, there's gender, you know, we could go on and on. And it's not going away, but we have to do our part, I think, to confront it when we see it.
I love that. And it almost seems like a large part of the responsibility of bringing that to the masses falls on us as entertainers, right? Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
You know, we have to represent that, because after all, I mean, we're on stages. My whole life, I've been in a diverse community of musicians. That's how I came up. I would assume it's the same for all of us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was one of each when we were coming up. I mean, diverse neighborhood, diverse school. You know, everything was just sort of like this great melting pot, and as it should be. That's what the country really is, whether or not people choose to acknowledge it or not. We are all in this beautiful Michigas together, and it's so great to take the opportunity to learn from other disciplines and other cultures. And like, why not? Like, we're not a monolith. So I wish my prayer is that we can lean into that more as the world opens up. I hope that this past year has given everyone the opportunity to really understand what that means and how they can apply it to a greater purpose.
Well said. And I always like to zoom out and think, look, when this all goes away, when the earth implodes upon itself and the universe disappears, none of this is going to matter. It's like, let's just enjoy this time we have, right?
Totally. Absolutely. It's a great way to say it.
All right, Terry, we come to you now. So tell us about your beginnings and, and where you're from and those good things.
First of all, I want to acknowledge my beautiful family, because I seem to have married into, by no surprise, an accountability family, you know, a family that really is hyper aware of our country and our cultures and what's working and what isn't. So I'm grateful for that.
I love that. You certainly married up, my brother.
There's no question. There's no question.
I feel the same with my wife and family too.
Right,
Oh, that's great. You guys are so sweet. So sweet. I feel the same way. Just saying.
So I grew up in, I was not expecting to be in the conversation today, but I'm happy to, of course. I was expecting to be listening and enjoying, which I am. I grew up in Miami, born and raised in Miami, Florida. I was exposed to a lot of culture because Miami, even in the early 60s, was a melting pot and came with all the beautiful aspects of that and the challenges, racial challenges, cultural challenges. But it was such a great place to grow up. Musically, I was exposed to sounds from around the world I wasn't even aware of until later on. I realized that all these world cultures of music have crept into my music, which is kind of a real cool gift. It's unexpected. And but anyway, born and raised in Florida, and then went to college there at a junior college, Miami-Dade Junior College, and then moved to Boston to go to Berkeley. I decided that I wanted to broaden myself as a musician and be more than a player, more than a guitar player. And I did. I got a degree in arranging. And all the time was writing and of course playing guitar and doing every session I could and learning from that. Bought a 4-track TAC 3340, and because I learned really quick that one of the best teachers is tape, or now computer, but that tape doesn't lie. I learned a lot about groove and pocket and what just feel, from and being articulate. And even having, just the perspective, because it's so subjective when, as a live performer, as as we all know, that piece of that experience is often very, it's very subjective, because you can think that you had the most wonderful moment of music and interaction with your instrument or with your fellow musicians, and the audience is just wow. They're just not connecting. I mean, they're enjoying, but they're not getting that. And then there's other times where you feel like you're not quite on, but everybody is just completely mesmerized and in love with the music and what you're doing. Tape isn't like that. Tape doesn't lie. If you're flat, you're flat. If you're dragging or rushing, it just lets you know. So anyway, that was and I always wanted to be a recording artist. Well, actually not a recording artist. I wanted to be what we used to have in our business, session musicians.
Right.
That where you can make a living doing that. But I wanted to tour and play with rock and pop bands, and I wanted to play on people's records. And so I moved here in 1981, and it's been quite an amazing journey.
So what's so cool is, Terry, obviously we have a lot in common with the guitars. I wanted to be a session guitarist as well.
Yeah.
I set out to do that. That's why I came to California. But I think the most important thing is here, and again, we're all saying it, what I always say, it starts with a decision, right? So not only does it start with the decision to be great at what we do, Melanie, for you, it started out with dancing, and then it morphed into singing.
Right.
Althea, it sounded like piano, and then it just kind of morphed into this giant education platform. Terry, guitar, and then you went and studied arranging. So this is my point. We have a decision to be great, but then I believe as career musicians, we need to make that next set of decisions as to which lane we're going to pursue within the business, right? Although nowadays the lines are more blurred, we kind of have to do a little bit of everything, it seems, right?
In some ways, yeah.
Let's talk about that decision process and how you formulated your trajectory. And Melanie, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, thank you. I have a sort of a philosophy, theory of everything, that I love a formula. I have a lot of little formulas that I apply to my process, my creative process, as well as maybe my career too. It's sort of like, I think there's a lot of value in making a mission statement.
Yes.
or a statement of intention. It's a grounding. It's like tattooing something on your arm. It's permanently there. I mean, yes, of course, it can ebb and flow. It can change. You can sort of like refine it. But I once had my favorite acting teacher said to me once after I really had a terrible reading of a scene that I was in. I thought he was going to rip me apart. And I probably deserved it. I wasn't underprepared and all that. He said, he got quiet and the whole class was quiet. He said, Melanie, I think you need to just be the most you that you can be. It was like, Shh. And I thought, oh, wow, that is such a gem and that is so valuable. And he was so compassionate in that moment. And from then on, and I remember exactly, it was in 1993. I thought, okay, then how do I do that? Well, I have strengths and I have things that are not as strong. I have qualities and characteristics that I can really lean on as a performer. And then there are some things that need work or whatever. So my thing is cultivate your strengths and the things that you love about yourself and about what you like to do. Cultivate that and release what doesn't work for you. And
wow.
Or what doesn't serve your gift. I will never probably ever sing opera. And as much as I love it, my mom gave me a real love for opera. She took me to my first opera. It was Don Giovanni, I think. Anyway, I love it. I'm not an opera singer. Who's kidding who? So I released that. However, I study opera. I've taken opera training. I've studied bel canto with a really magnificent teacher. And I was going to study with my mom's best friend, Gwendolyn, until she passed. So you can still have that sort of in your heart, but anyway, so release what doesn't serve your gift fully. And then that cultivation and that sort of becomes your foundation. And then once that's like churning and super, working for you, start adding in challenges to challenge your gift or what you think you know about yourself. Add in some things that challenge you and that gives you your edge. So for me, that meant learning how to be a better sight singer. I'm not great. I'm good. I'm pretty good. Mom says I'm really good. I don't know. I think I can always be better. I always feel like I'm never good enough with that. But that's the thing I needed to learn better because I read when I was a kid and then I just started dancing and I forgot how to read. And then it's like, if you don't, you lose it or use it. Use it or lose it. So I took sight singing and that was really hard. But I'm really glad I did it. So that's my thing. Have a strong foundation with the thing that is really all you and that's really fantastic and fabulous and gorgeous. And then release the thing that is not you and let that be okay. And then kind of maybe it's an avocation. Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's just something that you love to do without an agenda, without it having to be part of your purpose. And then start adding in little challenges.
So that is so profound. I love the release. It's super mature. I was the guy who wanted to do everything. I wanted to play every single musical style genre there was, right? And I had to give up on. I had to release some of them. I didn't give up, but flamenco for me it's my passion to this day.
Love.
Paco de Lucia, but let's be real, Terry. It takes a 12-hour practice regimen 7 days a week to become a really good flamenco guitarist.
Right.
That's just what it requires.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it requires that for probably about 15 to 20 years. And then you might be good.
Right.
It's just, so I love that. Okay. All right. Enough about me. Let's go back to you. Okay.
Oh, that's right.
I love that release, the foundation release. Althea, how did you decide, okay, this is the lane I'm going to, focus on?
I think probably, when you go to a university, you're kind of attracted to a lot of different things. I know for me, it was always about, jazz, gospel music, opera, classical. I played a lot of that. And by the time I got into college, I was, interacting with all of my friends who were just doing a zillion things. And then when I went to New Haven, and I went to Yale, everybody was, you mean you didn't know about this? Well, you should try this. But it gives you a wonderful, how shall I say, template from which you can operate. It's not that you have to do everything, but what I'm finding out, certainly now, and I used to preach this to my students at Cal State, you have to be willing to explore all kinds of things. It doesn't mean that you have to focus on one thing. I mean, I love dance. I'll never be a dancer, but I love to watch it.
Right.
I'm not a composer, but I respect and love Terry as a composer. I love to hear what other people are doing, and I will play any music that resonates with me. But I think I decided a long time ago after I graduated, I'm going to play classical music, and then whatever else comes down the pike. If I need a job which I have now, a church job where I have to play all kinds of different kinds of music, well, okay, I do that in order to earn a living. And I say to the students, okay, if you get an opportunity like that, go for it.
Yeah.
You don't want to limit yourself. And if it works out, then fine. It doesn't mean I have to give up something else. And I think that's what's important. You have to have a foundation, as Melanie was just saying. I couldn't agree more. You have to start with that, because without a foundation, you can't do anything.
No.
You can say, oh, I wish, oh, I like
Right.
it. But then if you don't have, let's say, something from which you can bounce off, then what's the point?
That's right.
And I've seen that happen a lot with some of the students I've taught, where they come in, but they're not willing to go through that process. And then I have the sad duty of having to tell them, well, it's not quite working out.
Not before you. I know, it's so funny. I used to tell my students that too. I taught at LACM, and I was a mentor and also taught. And I say, there's no plan B. Just if plan A doesn't work out, make another plan A.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? Because there's a reason. There's a really strong reason for this. If you have a plan B, then you're never going to give everything to your plan A. You're always going to think, oh, I can fall back. Parents tell their mom will back me up. I'm always fussing with her about like, oh man, what do I do about these parents that tell their kids in the arts? Always have something to fall back on. I'm like, don't fall back, fall forward.
I like that. Yeah.
Fall forward into your next dream. Like whatever it is that you're choosing, make a strong choice, go for it. If it's horrifying and you hate it, make another choice.
And think of all the stuff you learned in the interim, right?
Totally. Yeah. You learn what you don't want, which is so important. It's important. So many people don't know what they don't want.
Yeah.
I find that don't you guys see that all the time? Like
Absolutely.
They're waffling and carrying on. I'm like, you know what? Just make a choice. No one has a gun to your head. You can just choose something else. It's like, oh my God, ding, light bulb.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Again, not making that decision and sticking to my guns at an early age, what happened was I hit the road and started giving my gift away to all these other artists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And guess what happened when I got home? I had no gift left for me.
Come on now. That's a whole word.
It got to the point where I didn't even want to play guitar when I got home. I'm like, what? I didn't even want to write songs anymore or compose. I'm like, no. We need to rewire this.
Yes.
This is my gift first, right?
Yes.
So
that is so wise. I love that.
Well, but what you're saying is that I wish I would have made some decisions 20 years earlier. You know what I mean?
Well,
but what did I do? I learned from it. So I think that we're all saying the same thing. It's,
And that's really all that matters, is that you learn from it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You don't stay stuck or rigid in old ways of thinking when perhaps they were great things to think at the time, but when they no longer serve you, you open yourself up to a new way of rewiring, like you just said.
I love how you said that.
Yeah, that's it. All right. So with all these decisions that we make and that we're falling forward, I love that. Now let's put it in more of a pragmatic context. So we're all professional musicians. We're all career musicians. We have, nice storied resumes and beautiful careers. But let's talk about our daily schedule. How do you guys break up your workload on a daily basis? Because another thing that I hate to say this, I hope some people don't get offended, but I think the up and coming generations lack discipline.
I agree.
So,
yes, 100%.
So without consistent daily practice or adherence of what you're not going to make it. So talk about that.
Well, I'm one of the most undisciplined people that I know. So I'm not going to even try to front. I can't lie about it because then I can't be a good coach, I tell my students, I'm very undisciplined. I love to have fun. I love to play. I want to go ride my bike. I want to watch Law and Order reruns, and I do, especially the past year. Please forgive me. I'm asking for grace. I'm asking for grace this past year. but in a real sense, I mean, yeah, it's critical to have a process, and I love a creative process. I love to read about it. My family knows I'm like obsessed with like how do they do that, So for me, a daily thing. The pandemic has really has we've all run off the rails. Right. In a real sense, though, I love to wake up. I have a little gratitude meditation. I do some yoga. I've been practicing yoga since college, and I got certified to teach in 2012. So I really deepened my practice, and it's just been great. So I do a little bit of that. I don't roll over and pick up my phone. I want to say something about that because I think that somehow, without grounding yourself in the day, just roll it over and pick up your phone and doom scrolling through all the bad things that happened while you were asleep. That is a really rotten way to start your day, people. If put your phone in the drawer. I check my phone to see if my family needs me or if there's anything urgent. Yep. But otherwise, no phone. I take about 8,000 supplements. I drink a lot of water. That's my day. I start literally starting it. And then I have my coffee and then I look at emails and I talk to Terry and we see what's going on for the day. And then I might go for a power walk or do some writing. I do some, I just kind of just set my day up. And if I'm thinking about anything, I write it down. And then if I'm working on something, I might vocalize a little as I'm walking. Mm. There's really something to be said. Like, Lady Gaga trains on, or not Lady, the other great, she's so cool. Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter, Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus, yeah. She trains on a trampoline. Mm-hmm. And when I was dancing and singing at the same time, which is possible, but it's not perfect. It's really, I feel like it's important to get your motor running that way. So sometimes if I'm out walking, if Terry and I aren't walking together, I'll vocalize while I'm walking. And people look at me crazy and I just wave. So
it's LA.
It's LA. Hey, what are you going to do? Everyone's just like doing their own thing. So after that, it just depends on the day. But on any given day, I like to do some reading, some writing, and some exercise.
Okay, so that is very disciplined. So you contradicted with your opening because that's discipline.
It took practice.
Yeah, well, see.
It takes I had to practice. When I'm on the road, it's a whole nother story. Someone has already set up my day. So I just I just follow the bouncing ball.
Love that.
You already know what that's like. It's awesome.
It is nice when you have tour managers and everybody else telling you what to do and where to be. And all
I love that.
Yeah. But when you get home,
that's
you're like,
a luxury. For
it is. It is. Yeah.
You gotta have a plan though. When you come home, you're like, oh God.
That's right.
Anyway. Right. Next. Anybody else?
Althea, how do you approach your day? Especially if you have a day that's all your own, where you don't necessarily have to be somewhere.
Well, retiring brings about in addition to the change from, let's say, teaching every day and all of that. They used to call it, or at least my job was classified as a part-time lectureship, but that's not how it was. I was on campus with my colleagues every day and sometimes even on weekends. Part-time lecturers really carry the lion's share of the load in a lot of schools. But in any case, what I do in the morning, because I'm at the age where I have to do more things to stay in shape, I stretch a lot and I walk. I was with a longtime friend of mine today who walks for an hour every day. I don't know if I can get up to an hour, but I told him, I said, you've inspired me now. I got to start going to the beach first thing in the morning and getting to the Belmont Pier, which I used to do, is the 3-mile round trip. And it's not so bad if you just kind of pace yourself. But I start like that if I'm walking in the neighborhood, and then I start the coffee, because I have to have my little caffeine fix. I do that. And now that I'm at home, well, a lot of us working from home now because we're not out and about as much. I get online to see what's going on. I read the New York Times or the Washington Post very briefly, not the entire paper. I do that. And then depending on what else is going on, I go to the piano. I have warm-ups that I do. And if I have a project, well, that forces me to practice. Even now, I have some things that I'm working on. So I have to stay in touch with it. Otherwise, like I said, if you don't use it, you get rusty and you lose it.
How long do you practice, Mom? How long do you?
Usually 2 or 3 hours with breaks. I do have to get up quite a bit. I don't think it's a good idea to just sit for hours and hours. I don't do that anymore.
I know, but you're amazing.
But that's
30 minutes, get up, move around,
Yeah.
and then go back and sit down again.
Althea, right there. I'm so sorry. I have to park right there for a second. Like Melanie said, as we say today, that's beast mode.
Right.
That's
I know.
Your beast mode. 3 hours a day of focused practice. That's awesome.
Yeah, but
I'm telling you, I knew the answer to that question. That's why I wanted to hear her say it. I already knew.
It depends on what I'm. If I know I have stuff that I have to learn, like I did a recording a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so I learn that music and I work it out, and then there's other repertoire that I'm doing. So I haven't always been, shall I say, consistent about the 3 hour business, every day. But if I have something I'm working on, I will sit and then do my breaks and all of that, have some tea or
Yeah, sure.
drink. And I take a million supplements too, like Melanie. I mean, I'm doing all kinds of things, magnesium, and I take whatever I need to take just so I can stay alive. I think that's part of the key, especially as you get older, your body changes and you have to be willing to accept that. I mean, it's not the same as when I was 25. I'll never be 25 again. That's a nice thought, but it's not going to happen, So those are basically things that I do. And then in the evening, I catch up on news. I read a lot and I do some journaling, stuff like that. And it pretty much makes for a full day. And so even if I'm not practicing 3 hours every day, which I have to say I'm not consistent about that.
Well, that's okay.
I have other things that demand my attention.
Amazing. I love it. I love it.
Hi, I'm Melanie Taylor, and you're listening to The Career Musician with Nomad.
Binge previous seasons of the Career Musician podcast and subscribe for all new episodes.
Go behind the scenes with host Nomad to gain inside knowledge of entertainment business from the world's leading musicians, artists, producers, managers, and more.
All right. And Terry, how do you stay busy?
Well, I'm pretty disciplined. And some of that comes from, I was thinking about it while you're all talking, because discipline is defined in many different ways. Like Nomad, you have a different perspective of Melody's discipline than she does of her own, which I think is great. I studied and practiced martial arts for 20 years, and a lot of that carried over into, being an artist, being a musician. It focused me on a deeper level and in different ways. But I realized also that part of the reason that I'm disciplined is because I didn't get a scholarship to Yale. I wasn't a prodigy when I was a kid. I was talented, and I had to. Not that, Althea, you haven't worked your way through your whole life, but like I paid for my own college. I worked my way through school. I took out student loans.
Me too.
So right, Melanie did as well. So I took it upon myself to be incredibly focused because, like Nomad, I really was targeted. Like I was hungry. I think it's really important to have hunger. And I think it fuels the passion, and so I really wanted to accomplish things. I wanted to become great at playing guitar. I wanted to learn how to get notes on paper that were in my head. I wanted to be able to interact with other musicians as a producer and as a music director, those skills that I have. And so my daily practice has shifted through the pandemic. I had to find my focus on another level after we got over or got used to the fear and the unknown of this global pandemic and what this is and how we maneuver through it. So I worked my way back to getting up early in the morning, and I like reading in the morning as well. I always exercise. Yes. It's just I was brought up to do that. It really helps me. I need to. I mean, physically, emotionally, spiritually, I need to. And so I mix the day up like Althea. Like I get up once an hour and stretch, and I've got a stretch band in the studio hanging over here that I can just grab. And there's a yoga mat back there. Right. So
like
that even during my...
Nomad's a runner.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's great. So I was a runner until my hip surgeon said that you've run enough in your life.
That's what happened to me, my lower back. Yeah.
Really?
He said, you don't need to run anymore. So, which was really hard for me to give up. You know, that was a sacrifice also. But then again, like as we continue to evolve and adjust as musicians, you're saying, like, again, because I played with a flamenco artist for a couple of years, so I was the rhythm guitar player for this maniac flamenco player who had worked with Paco de Lucia. He's from Spain, and so I can feel you when you're talking about that. And you know, I wore a hole through the wood on my guitar just from the right hand, you know, rhythm flamenco technique that I was. Yeah. And because it's very percussive and aggressive. And delicate at the same time. It's all of those things. But yeah, there's only so many hours in the day, and I'm always balancing. It's like I'll look and like last year, like pre-pandemic, I was called to do a job which involved playing banjo, and it's like I hadn't picked up my banjo for probably a year.
Right.
You know, and my mandolin's in the case, you know, behind me, and it's like I keep looking and go, it's time to rekindle my relationship with you. You know, I look at the instruments on the wall because it requires that, it demands that. And you know, I remember fondly the years when I was practicing 7 hours a day.
Yeah.
And mixing it up, not just with guitar, but 2 hours of piano every day. You know, hand exercises for an hour, and then jazz studies, and you know, and then you know, another 5 hours of guitar.
Right.
I have to say, it's what I miss about being in school.
Yeah.
I really miss being in college and starting at 9 a.m. and going until midnight.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, you know, I mean, it's so funny. When I got a teaching gig a couple years ago with LACM, they needed my transcripts. And I had graduated so long ago that they were like carved on stone tablets. So when I called the admissions department, they were like, I said, what year did you graduate? I told them the year, and they were like, oh, you need to come down. We don't have that on digital. Like, what the heck?
We need a blood test.
Right. Okay. You're going to have to send us some blood and some, I don't even know what to tell you. So I took my happy self down to Cal State, and I went to Cal State Fullerton. Mom taught at Cal State Long Beach.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got my transcripts. They, you know, you fill out the form, they mail it to you. I wish I had them handy. They're like on parchment. I swear, that's what it feels like. It was so long ago, but I looked at my transcripts, and I was carrying. In some years, we were on semester system. In some semesters, I was carrying like 22 units.
Wow.
24 units, because a lot of those are performance units. So it adds up because there's only 2. But, you know, you got like a dance performance unit, that's 2. You got like the acting performance unit, that's 2. This and that, because I studied all, you know, it was multidisciplinary. This school, and I looked at some of the classes. I told Terry, I said, I don't even remember taking that class. I was in school for 5 years from morning till night. And doing shows and rehearsing and, you know, working at the museum, being a little curator over here and working at this little office. And I mean, I still don't know how I did it. We all did it. It was not just me, but there's a part of me that really misses it.
Man, like Terry said, the hunger, right? And we're all saying the discipline and just to stay motivated. But and I think this is the culmination of it all. Another thing that I like to teach the next generation coming up is oftentimes as musicians, we say, oh man, my phone's not ringing. Nobody's texting me. Nobody's DMing me. Nobody's hitting me up on the gram, on Instagram. What's up? I need some work. No. Flip that. Don't wait for the work to come to you. Start creating work.
That's
And
right.
that's what I like to tell people. When pandemic hit, the first thing I did was didn't freak out. Everybody, hey man, what are you going to do without no gigs? I'm like, I have this beautiful studio. I'm going to sit in my studio and compose every day.
Yeah.
I'm going to build catalog.
Right.
I started building catalog that 18 months ago I started building, and I'm using it still today, getting placements, right? So you have to make it happen. You have to, right? Energy begets energy, work begets work.
Yes, 100%.
So
we have to lean into our creativity. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
When this all came down, I'll never forget, March 13th, it was a Friday, 2020. It's the last day I hugged my mother. The day before that, I was in the studio with Mindy Abair and Steve Perry. The Monday before that, Mindy. The Monday before that, I sang on a few songs on the Aretha soundtrack that came out with Cynthia Erivo. So I worked that whole week, but you knew something was coming up. You knew something was going down. The people were starting to look at each other crazy, and the hand washing and the this and the that. And when it all went south, we were expecting to go back to Vegas with Barry. We had maybe 10 days off or something like that. And we were going to go, I sing with Barry Manilow, for those of you who don't know. And we were going to go right back to work. And so we just walked away, the costumes were hanging up there and the makeup was kind of put away a little bit. It probably looks like Pompeii right now. Like there's no people, but there's just stuff everywhere because everything shut down. Right. So I remember telling Terry, like, this is going to last for a year. There's no way we're going to just like bounce back. Something in my spirit said. So I just started reading, and I just decided, well, I'm just going to start reading and see what's really interesting to me right now. And maybe there's something in these books that I'm curious about that I haven't had time for, whatever. So I started to cultivate like a mindfulness practice that I could share and help people to not freak out. And work with anxiety and depression and all the things that people are going through that were inevitable. And I got a call from one of my mentors. It's very important to have mentors, by the way. Yes. Everyone should have a mentor. Whatever you love to do, have a mentor. Have somebody that you can talk to that can help you through whatever you're going through or inspire you, whatever that is.
That's right.
And I remember talking to one of my mentors, and she offered me an opportunity to come and work with her and do some training to do some corporate coaching for communication and teaching corporate people how to have more presence through intention and storytelling. And I didn't know this was coming, but sometimes your preparation meets your opportunity. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in luck.
That's right. That's right.
So that's what happened. And it had immense value because I felt like we were actually making a contribution. I wasn't just making a living. It's actually like helping people. Right. And helping people through this mess.
Amen to that.
There's something that I want to add or just shine a light on that we're all saying right now, which is we're talking about being focused and having a plan and doing the work and digging in and taking responsibility for your life. If things are not happening, create things to happen. But there's, in addition to being laser focused in what you want to accomplish and figuring out how to, through mentors and reading and everything, modeling after other people's success, looking at how they did that. There's still this element, and you're talking about it. You're both talking about it right now about being open. Althea's done it too because she just is pivoting from retiring from her teaching position and opening up to other aspects of this, but being open to things that you might not have expected or ever envisioned, and then stepping into it with eyes and heart wide open is critically important. It's sort of been a major key to the success that I've achieved in my very fluky career. Yeah. As a guitarist, as a music director, as a record producer, as a podcast host, and just as an example, working in television. I had a long television career on camera, music directing 2 late night national talk shows based on me being open to taking a meeting at Fox Television for back in the 1988 when my first album came out. That's why I remember the year. My debut album came out, and then I got this call to basically not audition, interview for a music librarian job on a late night talk show on Fox. And I said, well, what's a music librarian do? I mean, I had an idea. I said, well, you organized all the charts, and they went through the description, and I'm thinking that doesn't have anything to do with playing. My love, my passion, my discipline, my focus. But it does have to do with arranging and other things. And so I wasn't sure about doing it. And the person who recommended me to do it, who happened to be an opera singer / music attorney / music licensing person, like one of the major, groups for clearing music. He was the president of Clearinghouse. He basically just said, can I tell you something, Terry? Because I want you to really listen to what I'm saying right now. You need to quit thinking like a musician.
That's right.
And I knew he was right, but I wanted to really know what he meant. So I asked him, he said, quit worrying about that you're a guitar player and all that you're supposed to do is play guitar. That's not your only talent. That's not the only door that might open for you. And the one that is opening right now is a great door. Do you want to work in television? You go take this meeting. And I did. I took the meeting, and it led to me becoming the music librarian / music director for The Late Show on Fox, which led to me music directing The Byron Allen Show for 3 years, writing my music, interacting with all these other artists. Not to monopolize the conversation, but not saying yes to everything is important. Not being afraid to say no is really important. It's a great skill. But being open is really underrated. A lot of my biggest gigs have come from me walking in a side door on something else, or something that I wanted, but not really the way I envisioned it or wanted it. And I would including moving to Los Angeles. When I swore to myself when I was younger, I would never live in LA because I'd come out here and it was smoggy and I just didn't like it. I would never live in a city like that. I had to get over that.
Right.
When I felt drawn to come out here to work with the world's greatest musicians.
Yeah. I mean, you just said it, being open, and look at how that happened. I mean, wow. Okay. Look, I want to collect all of your credentials, collectively, and they're all going to go in the show notes on the podcast platforms and everything. But if you wouldn't mind, do this for me, please, because I know sometimes it's hard to brag about ourselves. It seems braggadocious, and I know, but just give us the little elevator pitch resume of what you've done. And Terry, we'll go backwards this time. We'll start with you because you just mentioned it. So the Byron Allen Show. What was the other show before that?
It was The Late Show on Fox with Jack Mack and the Heart Attack for a year, they were part of the reason I said yes to that.
Right. Yeah. Okay, what else? Drop another couple credentials.
I went from that to music directing for Wilson Phillips when at the first time around, at the height of their career, music directing and playing guitar for them. I have produced. Well, I've got, I believe, 7 albums out as a solo artist. Right. I've been hosting a podcast called Making It. Okay. Very similar to the intention that your show is about, which is why I jumped in today just to be a guest and listen in the audience, but love to be in this conversation with you. But it's really about sharing information. It's about mentoring. It's about pulling back the curtain on the truth of what it is that we all do. But I also produce other artists. My very first tour was playing with Billy Preston. So it's been a very eclectic career, playing guitar and going to Europe. When 1981, my first year out here, I worked with the Joe Sample and the Crusaders. Joe Sample, speaking of mentors, he was a mentor to me. He was huge. And by the way, you can have mentors that you don't even know or that you might meet later on. Like Quincy Jones was a mentor to me, and also Dave Grusin. These are all Joe Sample as well. These are players, some of the best players in the world on their instrument, masterful. They're great arrangers, they're great composers, they're great producers. They didn't just do one thing. And I saw that as being possible. And in full circle on that, just a few years ago, I ended up producing a song for a movie with Alan and Marilyn Bergman and Dave Grusin.
Nice.
You ended up producing a song with a mentor that, I'd never gotten to work with. And so those are, I guess, just a couple of things.
I love that.
And lots of credits with amazing artists, which is just wonderful.
I love it. And the reason why I like doing this, is because people need to know that the information being given here, you guys sharing your knowledge so freely, it holds a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. It comes from a place of tried and true experience and realism. And in short, Althea, please forgive me, you all know your shit.
Yeah.
And people should listen. People should listen up. So Melanie, Barry Manilow, Kirk Whalum, a whole host of others. I know for a fact.
Well, gosh, I don't even know. Am I on? Yeah. I know we're long on time, so
we're going to wrap time.
Yeah. So I'm trying to condense. I was writing because I'm trying to condense my thoughts because I don't want to rattle on and on.
I like that. Hold on, I got to interrupt. She's like, "How much time do we have?" Because my list is really long. So
no, I don't want to get in the weeds. Like, and then there was a time I
love it. I love it.
Well, I know you're going to edit, but anyway, let's see. My favorite experiences have been the ones where I get to use all my skills. So being a harlot with Bette Midler for 10 years was probably my hands down favorite. We got to sing, dance, wear crazy costumes. And I mean, and just, with mermaid in a wheelchair, so being a harlot was really kind of a crown jewel. And we won, the show won, an Emmy, for best lighting design for our show in Vegas,
nice.
which was DVD. And I've also same thing worked with Barry Manilow for 10 years, and he's such a great showman. And he really is. He asks a lot of you, and then you get to really go for it. Vocally, I get to go for it. I've spent time with him doing demos in his studio for other artists, and that has been such a gift. To work with a master of his craft and to watch him do arrangements on the spot and that sort of thing. I'm really proud of being a coach for LACM and being a mentor for young artists. It's one of the best things I've ever done. I get that from my mom. She has a real heart for teaching. I'm not that way necessarily, but I love to help guide younger artists to make the most of who they are, and to always just think about for all the young artists that are listening. I don't need to if you want my resume, it's at MelanieTaylorArtist.com.
There you go.
Or you can follow me at The Real Melanie Taylor on Instagram. But for all the artists that are listening, and even people my age, I just want to remind you that it's really important to have a mentor. Mm-hmm. It's really important to not grind your way into anything. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with working hard and being focused, but the grind business is really, it's kind of, I think it's really misleading, and it can be really damaging because it doesn't encourage you to be well-rounded. Grinding away at one thing. It's really important to be well-rounded. Be a well-rounded human. Read, go to the theater, go to the movie, sit in the dark with a bunch of strangers and see what that feels like. Travel. If you don't have the money, get in your car and drive to Santa Barbara and go to some museums. Like, there is always a way. Go to Palm Springs. There's museums and free stuff everywhere. If listen, we're all trying to come out of this financial hole that we've been in. So that's important. Really expose yourself. There's a great book called The Artist's Way that changed my life. It's an 11-week self-study program. I did it in the 90s. And there are still aspects of it today that still infuse what I do. I'm an audiobook narrator. I've only done 3 books, but I just got a scholarship. To pursue it further with APA. They're a publishing association. My audiobook narrator, a mentor, put me forward for it. So I'm really excited about that. Wow. And I do some spoken word. We've done about 50 projects here at home during the pandemic. And Terry, we have this beautiful studio, and he's a great engineer. I stay out of it. It's not my lane. That's not my ministry. I don't twist knobs and do all that stuff. I would rather either write a check for someone else to do it.
Yes. Amen. I'm a huge fan of delegation. You delegate.
Delegate. Write the check, send the PayPal, whatever. I don't have to. You don't have to be all things to all people. I'm just saying, I'm begging of all of you out there listening, stop wearing yourself down to the bone, trying to do spinning the plates. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Exhale.
Yeah.
And just find somebody. Trade services, maybe barter if you don't have the cash. Offer something. Try to save up and pay people what they want. But my goodness, stop with all the grinding. Okay, enough about that. And I'm just really proud of my family.
I love it. You guys are adorable. You're a power. It's like you're a power trio. And I mean, when I say adorable, I mean endearing, because you're so lovable, but also you're powerful. You guys, like I said, you know your shit, point blank. You're very experienced and knowledgeable. Look, I am so grateful that this panned out the way it did, Melanie. I was expecting you, and I am so glad, Althea, you can join us, and Terry. Okay, we're gonna wrap up, but I'd love to ask you some fun questions just off the cuff.
I love these.
Does that sound good? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, I'll give a question, and then whoever wants to answer, whatever. Okay? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Last concert you attended but did not perform at. You didn't play, you just attended.
Basha, I think.
Basha.
My favorite. Oh my God. I think we drove down to San Diego and saw Basha. I think that might have been it, Terry. You might tell me, because it's been a long time because of the pandemic.
I think that was.
Anything, Althea?
I went to a concert in Santa Monica. This was several months ago. Music from a Holocaust, not a survivor, but someone who perished in the Holocaust. But one of his relatives found a suitcase full of his music, and it was performed on his concert, and that was amazing. So that was let's see, what are we now? That was last year. And of course, because of the pandemic, I mean, I haven't been, to any in-person concert, but that was the last one I went to. That was really quite wonderful.
Amazing.
We did go to Michael McDonald's virtual concert.
That's cool.
That's true. On Valentine's.
Great. Valentine's Day.
God.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right.
Guilty pleasure food. Are you chefs? Do we have chefs in the family here?
We all cook.
Oh, I love that. Same here.
Are you a cook too?
Oh yeah, guilty pleasure. So my father's from Cuba, so what's one of my specialties? It's Cuban food.
I love Cuban food. We love it.
Yeah, love it.
What's your guilty pleasure food? Pasta.
Pasta, I like it.
I mean, I could eat it in any way, shape, or form, from SpaghettiOs to gourmet. It's my favorite. It's a guilty pleasure. Not so healthy, but my favorite.
Love it. Any others?
Terry?
Flourless chocolate cake, like twice a year, once a year.
The molten lava cake. I love that.
So good.
Dark chocolate. Yeah.
I love seafood, of course. Growing up in New Orleans, we had all these fancy Creole dishes. That I don't do a lot of cooking now for myself, but whenever I have an opportunity, catfish, stuff like that. And I'm a pasta lover too, although I have to.
I know. My mom's a great cook too. She's a great cook.
But I do enjoy it. Yeah.
I bet. Okay, music that changed your life. Band, artist, song. Who changed your life when you heard it? You were like, whoa, my ears have been opened.
Joni Mitchell.
Good one.
Otis Redding, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay.
Another good one.
Al Jarreau.
Oh, another great one.
Yes.
Woo!
I love his music. And Chick Corea. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So many. We could sit here for days naming them, right?
This is a show right here.
Yeah, exactly. All right. 3 touring essentials. You're on tour. What are the 3 things you can't leave home without?
My yoga mat, my humidifier.
Nice.
I hate to say my phone because that's a given. I think the other thing is just a really good book.
Good one.
I love a good book.
Good pair of running shoes, or for hiking.
Yep.
One of those containers that you can always make a protein shake on the run. And I even pack socks in them just to save room, to put in the suitcase.
Right.
And something good to read.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. Hidden talents. Any hidden talents?
I can roller skate.
Roller skate. See? That's not everybody can do that.
No. And I also, there was another one that came to mind. This wasn't on my little one sheet. Oh, someone else can go.
All right, favorite. Oh, yeah. Althea, sorry. Hidden talents.
Anybody?
Oh, I think there's one that I read. One of the things that I used to enjoy doing is embroidering, but of course I don't do any of that anymore. My grandmother taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just doing things around the house to make my house look a lot more attractive. And I have a kitty that I have to take care of now, so
You go.
I don't have any hidden talents as such.
She's a cat wrangler.
I like it. I like a favorite city.
Oh, New York.
Me too. New York.
New York.
I'm a New Yorker. So.
Are you? Yeah. New York.
New York.
New York. Terry.
Man, I kind of fell in love with Provence when I was there.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Paris is always a good idea.
Always a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Melanie's like, wink, wink, Terry. Paris is always a great idea.
Wait a second.
Yeah, right.
Take
Making
notes.
Yeah.
All right. An instrument you wish you played.
Oh, piano. God, I wish. It's actually embarrassing that I don't. That's all I can say.
Well, me too. I wish I could play piano like Vladimir Horowitz. So,
Wow, right. If you're going to dream big.
Yeah, exactly.
I always wanted to play sax and just be in a horn section and like do all the choreography and all that, and just really just put your foot in it with a whole section.
Yeah. Or bass. I'd love to play funk bass.
Oh, there you go.
Like George Clinton, like being really like funky and greasy. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Althea?
For me, it was the violin. I had to go through those classes in college where you have to learn something about all the instruments. And I got up to seventh position, and I thought, oh, yeah, I know how it works. But that's one of the most difficult instruments because, you have to deal with possible injury and holding and bowing and all kinds of things. And I thought, no, I don't think I'll.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Man, Paganini was always my favorite violinist composer.
Oh, yeah.
Intense.
Very powerful. So intense.
Okay. Final question. You ready? What would you do if you weren't a career musician? I know, right? Sometimes it's hard to answer.
I'd be the paramedic that jumps out of helicopters to rescue people.
That's intense.
That was always, or a water ski instructor, like in the Bahamas someplace. Those were my two.
No.
Nice. I like it. Hey, he's got it ready to go. He's got it.
I would 100%. I would be a fashion designer.
There you go.
I would design. I would love to be, Vera Wang. I would love to do that, and just sketch and draw and create. I love fashion, and if I wasn't doing this, they say fashion people are crazier than musicians. I think it's probably a toss-up, so I think I'd fit right in.
Yeah, it sounds like sometimes I definitely feel my own crazy, right?
Oh yeah, all day, especially these days.
Yeah. Althea, how about you?
Oh, just before I do that, Melanie, I have to say she's absolutely fabulous and amazing with design, and she's helped me so much. That color doesn't look good on you, but it does. Try that. I would have been a lawyer, and the reason I say that is because when I was at Yale, I had a lot of friends who were in the law school, but I've always had a great admiration and respect for people who do it. Mm-hmm. And I remember having these long conversations with my dad. This was years ago, and we used to always talk about cases and legal things. And so I guess if I had not been a musician, that's what I would have done. I would have been a lawyer.
And Mom, you've been a social justice activist your whole life, and have always taught me the value of that. And my mom just got a letter published in the LA Times. Wow. She's got a brilliant mind, but she's got a heart for justice, and has always been an advocate for causes that are really meaningful to her, and civil rights and everything. So I have to say that I know you didn't have a legal career, but you've always been so passionate about what's right, and I just admire that very much. It's always been such an inspiration.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. This has been incredibly just joyful. What a great time, right?
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for having me and my family. I didn't even know that's how it was going to go, and it's just been such a treat.
Hey, I'm that guy. If I'm within a close proximity, I'm talking to you. I can't. I can't not talk to another human being,
That's
so
right. Nomad, I've always loved being your friend. I'm so happy to reconnect with you. I know we go back, and I look forward to doing more and collaborating now that the world is opening. We're fully vaccinated. So I say, let's pick up that song that we started writing.
I love it.
It's on my desktop. It's on my desktop.
Is it really?
It's called Masterpiece. Yeah.
Okay. You got to send it to me. Send me the MP3.
I will.
I'll check it out.
I will. But anyway, thank you for this. It's such a pleasure to reconnect, and congratulations to you on this beautiful platform, and this podcast is so amazing. I've been listening to them during the past couple of weeks, and you've had some access to some of the best people who just give of them so freely. So my family and I, we're just happy to be a part of it. Congratulations to you.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked. And Terry, I would love to be a guest on your podcast at some point.
Let's do it.
I'm inviting myself. So
that's a bold move, but I'm going to take you up on it. I think that's great.
Closed mouth doesn't get fed. I say yeah.